Your past didn't choose you, but your future is yours to shape. You can redefine who you are and create the life you're capable of. Thanks for clicking on this video. I know the fact that you're here means you're ready to change your limits, rethink what's possible, and take steps towards building the life you want. I'm Tom Bolan, and I'll be walking you through how to do just that. There's a hard truth most people live with, whether they say it out loud or not. It's a belief that they are, at their core, fixed. That who they are, their background, their upbringing, their current limitations defines the limits of their future. And I get it. If you grow up around certain patterns, certain struggles, certain ceilings, it's easy to believe those limitations are permanent. But here's the paradox. Humans are the only species on Earth that can fundamentally redefine who they are. Think about it. An acorn can only ever grow into an oak tree. It doesn't matter how much it wants to become a rose or a mountain or a skyscraper. Its entire lifetime is hardwired into its DNA. Its potential is fixed. But you are not an acorn. You are not fixed. You have the unique ability to reinvent yourself. Not once, but repeatedly across your lifetime. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because for many of you watching this, I know you didn't come from the world you feel you're meant for. Maybe you're building a property business now or scaling an entrepreneurial project, but deep down, you know the reality. You weren't born into wealth. You weren't raised in a household that taught leverage, compound growth, or how to structure deals. Maybe you came from struggle. Maybe your family fought to make ends meet. Maybe success, wealth, even confidence were foreign concepts in your home. And yet, here you are, building, learning, pushing for more. You're not bound by your origin story. I want to be clear, your origin story matters, but it does not define your future. In the property world, I meet people every week who have stepped far beyond their starting point. People born into poverty now owning multi-million-pound portfolios. People raised in chaos now building stable, thriving homes for their families. People who grew up believing that money was evil, now understanding that wealth is a tool for impact, freedom, and security. How does that happen? It happens when you embrace the paradigm shift that identity isn't static, it's fluid. See, most people believe identity is like a tattoo, permanent, hard to change, and maybe even painful to adjust. But the truth is, identity is more like software. It can be updated, upgraded, reprogrammed, and once you understand that, everything shifts. Your current identity is a reflection, not a restriction. Right now, the way you think, the actions you take, the results you get, they're all based on your current identity. But that identity was shaped by your environment, your experiences, and your influences. It wasn't set in stone by some universal law. You might feel like someone who struggles with money, but that's not a life sentence. That's conditioning. You might feel like someone who isn't confident speaking to investors or negotiating deals or building a business. But again, that's conditioning, not concrete reality. And here's the empowering part. Conditioning can be changed. You become who you decide to be through action. And the reason I tell you this is because in business, success is really about where you start. It's about what you do repeatedly, even when it's uncomfortable. You can be someone who grew up terrified of debt, and yet through education and exposure, you become a master at raising finance. You can be someone who never imagined owning assets, and within a few years, you're building cash flowing portfolios. You can be someone who believed wealth wasn't for people like you, and now you're creating generational change. But none of that happens by accident. It happens by design. When you intentionally shape your beliefs, your skills, your circle, and your habits. Most of us grow up in survival thinking. We're taught to play it safe, to follow the rules, to avoid risk. And in fairness, that thinking might have kept your family afloat, but it won't build wealth and it won't unlock freedom. The shift comes when you stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. When you finally realize you're not stuck with the beliefs, patterns, or limitations you grew up with, everything changes. You get to choose. You can choose to think differently about money, to see it as a tool that works for you instead of something that keeps you up at night. You can choose to act differently in business, to recognize that calculated risks are often the very thing that lead to outsized rewards. And you can choose to redefine your role, shifting from employee to owner, from sitting on the sidelines to leading, from hesitation to decisiveness. And the beautiful thing is, identity follows action. You don't wait to feel ready, you act repeatedly and your brain catches up. If you're involved in property or entrepreneurship here in the UK, you've already seen this. There are people dominating the market who didn't come from wealth. People making 6 and 7 figures who didn't have formal education in finance or business. People becoming respected, influential, wealthy, who once believed that wasn't possible for them. And what changed? They did. They updated their internal programming. They decided to rewrite the story. They learned the skills, built the mindset, found the mentors, and took the uncomfortable steps. And every time they did that, their identity evolved. Now here's the flip side most don't talk about. Staying the same isn't neutral. It's expensive. When you refuse to upgrade your thinking, your environment, and your standards, you stay stuck. Not because of lack of potential, but because of a lack of decision. Inaction is a choice. Setting is a choice. And the cost compounds. Lost time, lost income, lost opportunity, lost self-belief. But when you lean into growth, when you embrace discomfort as the currency of change, that's when the magic happens. You can become rich, free, respected, but you have to outgrow the old you. Let's be blunt. Wealth, freedom, influence, they are available, but they require a higher version of you. You don't get wealthy with scarcity thinking. You don't build a successful property portfolio with small, fearful decisions. You don't create financial independence by staying loyal to the identity that got you to this point. The version of you that reaches those next levels, well, they think differently, they act differently, they invest differently. And the transition, well, that's your responsibility. In property, we talk about developing land, building assets, and shaping spaces. But your greatest project is yourself. You're not an acorn. You're not stuck as the product of your upbringing, your postcode, and your past. You are the architect of your identity, and by extension, your life. So if you want more wealth, more freedom, more impact, it starts with this paradigm shift. I can change who I am, and in doing so, I can change what's possible for me. Update your beliefs, upgrade your skills, expand your circle. Take the actions your future requires, even when they feel uncomfortable, because your circumstances may have shaped you, but they don't define you. You do. And the sooner you embrace that, the sooner you step into the world you were actually made for. That's everything from me on this one. Thanks for sticking with me right to the end, and I really appreciate you for being a subscriber. Stay focused, stay ambitious, and I'll see you again in the next one.